Hello, everyone, and welcome to this session. Before I begin, I would like to quickly take feedback from you. Kindly drop me a message and let me know if I'm audible to you. You can drop me a message using the chat option and share feedback with me if I'm audible. All right. Thank you, Virendra Singh Chauhan, for letting me know that I'm audible. So now that I have got confirmation from Mansi also, thank you, Mansi, for sharing feedback. Now, let me start this session. So, as you can see on the screen, I'm going to talk about AIMCATs and I'm going to explain why AIMCATs are actually a success multiplier for CAT aspirants. For those who desire to crack CAT exam, why are AIMCATs extremely helpful is something that I'm going to talk about in this session. Once my session gets over, whatever queries you send across, I'm going to answer those also. So keep sending me your queries, but I'm only going to answer them after my session gets completed. So without any further ado, let's get started with this session. So to start with, let's understand why AIMCATs have such a rich legacy. Now, we have been conducting AIMCATs for many years now. And if you look at the track record of AIMCATs, in their ability to simulate the examination and help the aspirants in cracking the exam, we have been extremely successful. In fact, every year for the past so many years, T.I.M.E has been sending more than 2,000 students to IIMs alone. If you look at other premier business schools along with this, then the number will be absolutely humongous. Now, why is it that so many times students succeed in cracking the examination? See, there are multiple reasons, but one of the primary reasons would be the AIMCAT series that we have. So the AIMCAT test series, if you talk to any T.I.M.E student who has prepared with time, the invariable answer that you would get from the student, apart from the quality of teaching, would be the quality of the AIMCATs that we have. In fact, every year, more than 60,000 test takers attempt our AIMCATs. So that's a very big pool. So when you write the AIMCATs in time, you get to compete with some of the bright minds who are preparing for CAT examination. And that's the reason our students acknowledge AIMCATs to be extremely essential in their preparation for the CAT exam. Now, before I talk about how AIMCATs help, it makes sense if you understand different types of AIMCATs that we have. So, broadly speaking, there are two types of AIMCATs. We have got regular AIMCATs, and then we have got AIMCATs which are self-administered. Let me explain the difference to you. So, in AIMCATs, the regular AIMCATs, you get a chance to compete with other students of T.I.M.E from across India. That means you get to compete with all the serious aspirants who are preparing for CAT. So AIMCATs allow you to benchmark yourself against the competition. In fact, if you look at the quality of test takers when it comes to AIMCATs, it will actually be much superior than the quality of test takers in CAT. What do I mean by this? I'm going to explain it to you after some time. So regular AIMCATs are proper simulation of CAT, and you write this exam the way you would write CAT exam. And once the examination gets over, we will share with you detailed analysis of your performance. We will share with you detailed analysis of the question paper also. And apart from that, we also provide you with solutions. The results that you get when you write a regular AIMCAT would also be extremely detailed. Scorecard will be shared with you. So we will let you know not only sectional percentiles but overall percentile as well. We will give you all India rank also, as well as we will let you know the rank in your respective city as well. So you will get to know where you are standing with respect to competition. So these are regular AIMCATs. Apart from that, we also provide AIMCATs which are self-administered. So the essay here stands for self-administered. So the name itself gives you a sense of what these AIMCATs are. These AIMCATs, you're not competing with anybody else. You're basically competing with your own self. These AIMCATs which are self-administered, they will be provided to you on your student homepage, and you can write this self-administered AIMCAT as per your convenience. So 24/7 they will be available, and you can write them as per your convenience. See, my recommendation to you is once you download your CAT hall ticket, once you download your CAT admit card, you would get to know where exactly you are going to write the exam, which slot has been allocated to you would also be known. Are you going to get the morning slot? Did you get allocated the afternoon slot or the evening slot? That becomes clear. So this year, the admit cards of CAT will be made available from 5th of November onwards. So the moment you download it and the moment you realize in which slot you have been allocated the CAT examination slot, start writing AIMCAT self-administered at the same time as your actual CAT exam. So when you write the AIMCAT self-administered at the same time as your CAT, your body and mind both will get used to working efficiently at that particular time slot. So AIMCAT self-administered are interesting because uh, you are basically competing with your own self, and you can write it whenever you feel like. And it's a good, again, it's just like regular AIMCATs, even self-administered AIMCATs are good simulation of actual CAT examination environment. Now, these are the two different types of AIMCATs that you will get to write, and use both of them properly as such. Both are equally important. Now, I was talking about it earlier. I was mentioning that the quality of test takers as far as AIMCATs go is pretty high quality. Now, what do I mean by this? See, what I meant to say was all serious aspirants, everybody who is seriously targeting IIMs, they surely write AIMCATs. So, with respect to the quality of test takers, AIMCATs would only be written by those who are seriously preparing for CAT. So when it comes to CAT exam, you do have serious test takers, but you also have people who have not prepared well for the exam writing CAT exam, people who did not take coaching anywhere, as well as people who are just writing CAT just because they believe that it's their first attempt. They're not serious about it. They just bought the CAT application form because somebody in their friend circle suggested them to write CAT. Or some people would think, my main attempt is CAT 26, but CAT 25, I just want to write because I want to get a feel of the examination. So such test takers would also be writing CAT exam. In fact, out of those almost 3 lakh test takers that write CAT exam, you can probably say around 1.5 lakh, if not more, would fall in this bracket. So the quality of test takers in AIMCATs actually is much, much superior than what you would find on the day of CAT exam. Now remember, what do we mean by percentile? Because when you write CAT, you are awarded a percentile. So in simple words, percentile means percentage of people below you. So if you write a CAT exam and you defeat 90% of test takers, then we say you have secured 90 percentile in the exam. That means remaining 10% approximately have defeated you, but you ended up defeating 90% of test takers. That's when you get awarded 90 percentile. Since that is the definition of percentile, now think about it. Since the quality of test takers is much superior in AIMCATs than what you would find in CAT, as a result of this, what would typically happen? We have done a lot of analysis in this regard, and our analysis says that for most of the AIMCAT takers, especially those who are preparing well for CAT exam through AIMCATs, their eventual CAT percentile will be much higher than their average AIMCAT percentile. I repeat this. This shows the quality of test takers in AIMCATs and why AIMCATs are such a beautiful resource to prepare for CAT. Your eventual CAT percentile usually will be much higher than your average AIMCAT percentile. But if you are asking me, will it happen to every single AIMCAT test taker? Not really, but it happens to those who are preparing well with AIMCATs. Let me show you what our analysis suggests. So this table will give you an idea about what our analysis has revealed as such. So what we found out is people who on average have secured around 95 plus percentile in AIMCATs, especially in the last 10 AIMCATs, if your average percentile is 95 plus, then you can expect a 99 plus percentile in actual CAT exam. So eventually when you will write CAT exam, you can expect 99 plus a CAT percentile. Again, this is absolutely remarkable, isn't it? Because people have this fear that if I am ending up with a certain AIMCAT percentile, my CAT percentile will also be similar. Not really. For those who are preparing well with AIMCATs, your CAT percentile will be even higher because of the quality of test takers. So on average, if you are around 90 percentile in our AIMCATs, especially in the last 10 AIMCATs, then you can expect more than 95 percentile in actual CAT exam. Our analysis says people who are securing between 80 to 90 percentile in our AIMCATs, they usually cross 90 percentile. Similarly, people who score on an average 70 to 80 percentile in our AIMCATs, they will generally cross 85 percentile in actual CAT exam. People who are in the range of 60 to 70, they can also expect more than 75 percentile in actual CAT exam. Now, if you observe, I did not write anything below 60. The reason I did not do that is because quality of the students who are below 60 in our AIMCATs, eventually, not now, but eventually who are below 60, they may still end up with below 60 percentile in CAT because the quality of the test takers aspect will not help them much, because the people who are writing CAT, who are not writing AIMCATs, they may also be below 60 percentile level. So if you are also below 60, then you will not gain the advantage of having the higher quality of test takers per se. So 60 is the benchmark. Anything more than that, you are going to gain from the quality of test takers of CAT exam. Now, I have written plus next to these numbers. So how much more it could be? So some people generally they prematurely try to judge yourself. See, these percentiles that I have written here, don't judge yourself now. Some of you may be time students, some of you have already started writing AIMCATs and you have been writing AIMCATs for some time. Don't judge yourself today, because remember, right now we are at the end of August, whereas our examination happens in the end of November. So you have a lot of time left. So in this period, if you work hard, no matter what your current performance may be, eventually you can surely expect to be here, or you may even end up here. There is a lot of time left, and you just need to utilize this time properly, and I'm sure you will be able to do a remarkable job. So only judge yourself, only calculate your average percentile in the month of October, so not before that. So judge yourself in the month of October and not before that. So that is something that I definitely would like you to keep in mind. Now, what are the advantages of AIMCATs? Why am I claiming repeatedly that AIMCATs will be absolutely instrumental in your success? So these are some of the advantages. So we have a full-fledged team, a separate team that develops our AIMCATs, and they comprise some of the brightest minds that you can find in this particular industry. So AIMCAT team consists of alumnus of IIM Ahmedabad. There are more than one alumnus of IIM Ahmedabad who work in our AIMCAT team, and these are absolutely extraordinary people as such, with a lot of experience, a lot of talent, and they come up with brilliant AIMCATs. Now, first and foremost thing that this team keeps in mind is they want to simulate CAT exam. So what we want to do with our AIMCATs is, when any student writes the AIMCAT, they should get a feel of actual CAT exam. Now, we should be able to simulate CAT exam not only with respect to the UI, user interface, but also with regard to the difficulty level, with regard to the different models that you have, with regard to the different types of questions that can come. So we properly simulate actual CAT exam. So people who write the AIMCATs, for them, the CAT exam would be just like writing another AIMCAT. They will never be caught off guard because they have been exposed to different types of AIMCATs, different types of examination models. So we simulate CAT exam. Even the user interface, the way it looks, all the features that you have in the mock exam, they will be absolutely same as actual CAT exam. So when you write AIMCATs, you get to practice the UI that you will find eventually on the day of CAT also. For example, the way calculator will be provided, the way bookmarking feature would be there, the way answer marking has to be done, the way the questions will appear, the way you would be able to skip the questions, you'll be able to bookmark them, you'll be able to come back to it, the way the timer is. Every single minor aspect of CAT is properly replicated in our AIMCATs. So any student who writes AIMCATs, they get proper preparation for actual CAT exam and they will never be caught off guard. The second aspect of AIMCATs that makes them such an attractive option is you get to identify where you stand with respect to competition and gauge how much improvement is happening. So when you write AIMCATs, what typically you should do is after the AIMCATs gets over, you should properly analyze your performance. How to analyze it, I'm going to talk about it after some time. But when you do proper analysis of your performance, you will be able to figure out which areas are your strengths. And more importantly, you should be able to gauge which areas are your weaknesses. And more importantly, you will be able to figure out as far as competition goes, where do you stand with respect to competition? As I said earlier, a lot of serious aspirants are writing AIMCATs. So if you are able to beat them, if you are able to compete with them, 100% guarantee you would also be able to compete with CAT takers. So this helps you in figuring out where you stand with respect to competition. Always keep in mind what I showed in the earlier slide. This kind of comparison is something that you definitely need to remember, and this will also help you in gauging your current status of preparation. And with every AIMCAT, keep having a look, keep an eye on how much improvement is happening. Now, don't just see yourself in terms of marks. Don't just see, I got these many marks in the last AIMCAT, and this AIMCAT I have got these many marks. That can be seen, but that should not be the sole criteria. More than marks, judge yourself with respect to the kind of percentile you have scored. See, as far as marks are concerned, remember, marks are related or connected to the difficulty level of AIMCAT. We are going to keep changing the difficulty level of our AIMCATs. AIMCAT to AIMCAT, the difficulty level can vary. And because of that, the marks needed to get a good percentile may also vary. So keep that in mind. That's the reason judging yourself solely on the basis of marks that you have scored in the AIMCAT may not be an intelligent thing to do. We would encourage you instead to give more amount of importance to what percentile you have been able to secure. So that is how you can gauge the improvement that you are having with regard to your preparation. Also, you must keep an eye on what are the areas where you have improved, which are the types of questions that you were earlier not able to solve, but today that you have learned, you are able to solve. So you must gauge your improvement even with regard to the types of questions that you have been able to solve, which earlier were troubling you as such. So that is another important way of gauging your improvement as such. Now, apart from that, it prepares you, AIMCATs prepare you for any kind of surprises that may happen. Remember, there's a very interesting saying that when it comes to life, some things are not predictable. For example, monsoon in India, for example, or let us say the AIMCATs, for instance, right? Or actual CAT, for instance. CAT is full of surprises. Sometimes you must have seen that you must have heard or you must have interacted with your seniors and they might have told you that we expected a kind of CAT, but eventually on the day of exam something else happened. For example, if you compare difficulty level of CAT 22 with difficulty level of CAT 23 with difficulty level of CAT 24, all three exams were not alike. For example, CAT 23 was much more difficult than the other two CAT exams. So point I'm trying to make here is there are surprises that can be thrown at you. Now the surprises that they can throw can be with regard to the difficulty level of exam. You were expecting very tough exam, but suddenly they throw a surprise at you and the paper turned out to be much easier. That could be a surprise. Or another way of creating surprises for the students can also be with regard to the pattern of the exam. Remember, right now, what have CAT authorities revealed about the exam? They simply said it will be a 2-hour exam, and they revealed that the first section will be VARC, then you will have DILR, then they revealed you will have a QA, right? And they also revealed that every section will be 40 minutes long as such. So 40 minutes sectional limit will be there. This is what they have revealed. But did they reveal how many questions will come in VRC, how many questions will come in DILR, how many questions will be there in QA? They have not. So this can again be a surprise, because remember, if you compare CAT 23 exam with let's say CAT 24 exam, there was a surprise, right? Overall number of questions in CAT 23 were 66, whereas overall number of questions in CAT 24 became 68. Overall number of questions in DILR in CAT 23 were 20, whereas in CAT 24, DILR suddenly became 22. So there was a surprise element that was thrown at students with regard to the pattern last year in CAT exam. What if they again bring about a change? What if again that 68 either goes back to 66 or it becomes 70? You never know, right? So DILR, instead of 22, again they decrease it to 20, or they again increase it to 24. Anything is possible. So what happens with AIMCATs is our AIMCAT development team, they keep on making changes in the pattern of the AIMCAT as well. You will write some AIMCATs where number of questions will not be 68, but the number of questions may be different. We do experiment with number of questions across sections as well, so that our students should not be shocked on the day of CAT if IIMs decide to throw a surprise at the students as such. So AIMCATs prepare you for any kind of scenario that you may encounter on the day of CAT. Another way of surprising the students could also be by including certain chapters which were not covered as much in the previous CAT papers. For example, for a long time, students, they were of the opinion that arithmetic maths is the most important part and algebra is not so important. People developed that feeling around a decade back. But in the recent past, what have we noticed? We have noticed that actually algebra, the number of questions are going up, right? Number of questions in algebra have also increased in the last few years. Now, they can play with that, right? Now that you are going with an assumption that good number of questions may be from algebra, what if they turn it around and they say very less number of questions from algebra and a lot of questions from arithmetic? Or let's say there is a topic called permutations combination. You expected a certain number of questions based on the last few years of CAT, but you get a different number of questions based on permutations and combination. So this kind of surprise can also be thrown at you. So what we do in our AIMCATs, every AIMCAT, the makeup of questions with regard to the chapters that we are including. For example, in DI, tournament-based DI questions, or typical DI, traditional data-intensive DI questions. Now, in the last few years, you have noticed a lot of focus has been there on reasoning-based DI. But what if it changes this year? What if they go back to the traditional DI models? So what we do in our AIMCATs, we create some AIMCATs with traditional DI as well. So that our students are prepared to handle that particular scenario as well. See, even at a more micro level, let us look at RC passages, reading comprehension passages. Now you are expecting RC passage to be of a certain length. What if in actual CAT they change the length of that RC passage? So if you write AIMCAT, you will be exposed to different length of RC passages as well. So bottom line, any student who writes all the AIMCATs will get exposure to different scenarios, different kind of questions, different kind of question papers that you can encounter on the day of actual CAT exam. That's the reason, ladies and gentlemen, do not miss the AIMCATs. Write every single one of them religiously, because you never know what kind of question pattern, what kind of paper, what kind of test you will encounter on 30th of November. Now, apart from all this, you must also remember that examiner can also play with the difficulty level of a particular section as well. So for instance, people have this general notion based on the last few years, they would say, okay, probably I expect DILR to be of this kind of difficulty level. What if it completely changes? So you need to be prepared for that also. You should also be prepared to number of sets. For example, in DILR, how many sets do you expect? Some people say, sir, I expect 5 sets the way it was in the previous exam. What if it changes? What if they make it 4 sets? What if they make it 6 sets? So you need to be exposed to different possibilities there as well. So that is where our AIMCATs will come into picture, and they will prepare you for any kind of surprises that can be thrown at you. Then AIMCATs also help you learn new techniques of problem solving. So the solutions that time provides for the AIMCATs, they are also equally important, friends. AIMCATs are like gems. But not only the question paper, even the way our team designs the solutions of AIMCATs, they are extremely useful, because when you look at the solution, sometimes what happens, you may have done a particular question correctly. I'm not saying you'd be wrong always. You would have done it correctly. But when you look at the solution, you will see that the same question faculty member has been able to solve with a new technique, new approach. So you should learn that new technique. Most of the time, the technique that has been mentioned in the solutions that we provide will be the most effective as well as efficient way of solving the question. So make sure you not only take the AIMCAT, but you spend a lot of time looking and learning from the solutions that time has provided. So don't just look at the solution of only those questions that you have not been able to solve. This is a common mistake that I observe a lot of students commit. They say, sir, I did not do this particular set correct. That's the reason I'm looking at how faculty member has done it. I would strongly advocate you also look at solutions of those questions that you did correctly, because the technique that the faculty member may have used, the process that the faculty member may have used could be different from your approach. Then it helps you in learning that new technique of problem solving. So this is something that is very important that you need to keep in mind. Other than that, everybody who is preparing for CAT should be able to constantly monitor their strengths and weaknesses. But how would you get to know your strengths and weaknesses? You would only get to know your strengths and weaknesses when you write the AIMCATs. So after writing few AIMCATs, sit and think, which chapters are troubling me, what kind of questions I'm not able to do, and then those are your weaknesses. You definitely need to work on those weaknesses so that eventually, even if they don't become your strengths, they should at least become your area of comfort, and they should no longer be your weaknesses. And the more and more you work on this aspect, the more and more improvement you will find in your performance, in your percentile, in the way you are able to compete with other students. So this is something that should be an ongoing activity that you should not give up till the last AIMCAT. You should keep constantly identifying your weaknesses and work on them as such. Now, test taking strategies, they play a very crucial role in your success. So test taking strategy involves a lot of decisions that you need to take. For instance, you need to decide about time management. In those 40 minutes, how do I attempt the paper? Do I go in chronological order? Do I scan through the section? How do I decide which question to attempt, which questions to leave? Should I have a cutoff time limit when I'm attempting a question? How do I have disciplined approach wherein I don't get drawn towards the question, where I develop the ability of giving up also? Yes, you should have the ability of giving up also in the examination. For example, you attempted a question and you already spent a good amount of duration on it. You have already attempted a quant question for, let's say, 3 to 4 minutes. Now, anything more than this can definitely cause problems for you, right? In fact, if you are strong at quant, probably after 2 minutes itself, you should think about it. That is it worth investing any more time on it, or is it better if I bookmark it and I come back to it later on if time permits? So this kind of time management techniques you have to practice. There can't be a theoretical concept that somebody told you and you didn't practice it and you are eventually going to put it to practice on 30th of November. That's not going to be helpful as such. You have to ensure that all these time management techniques, all these tricks, you actually practice them well in advance using the AIMCATs that time is providing, so that on the day of CAT, it should become your second nature. You should be part of your subconscious mind and you should be able to do it effortlessly. Similarly, other things that you need to practice as part of test taking strategy could also be in which order should I attempt the question. Do I do RC first? Do I do VA first? Or on what basis do I gauge the difficulty level of RCs and how do I decide which RC set to attempt? Right? Similarly, with regard to quant, how do I decide which ones to attempt? So there are so many decisions that you need to take on the day of exam. I always say to my students, getting a good CAT percentile is not just the outcome of having good subject knowledge. Yes, you have to have good subject knowledge. You need to have good conceptual clarity, no doubt about that. But along with that, equally important aspect will be the test taking strategy that you have. So you need to fine tune your test taking strategy with the AIMCATs that time is providing as such. Now, the question is, these were the benefits, but then how do you extract maximum benefit from the AIMCAT? How do you ensure that you take maximum mileage from the AIMCATs? Now, let's understand that. To start with, you can extract maximum benefit by not missing any AIMCAT, not skipping on any AIMCAT. I'm sure there are some people who say, sir, I think I should not write AIMCATs during the test window because I'm a little anxious, or I believe I don't want to face that level of competition at this juncture. I'm not well prepared at this moment. See, don't think of all these kind of excuses. I strongly advocate you write every single AIMCAT. See, initially your performance may not be great. Fair enough, let it be. But still, you are gaining by writing that AIMCAT. What are you gaining? See, first and foremost, it would improve your mental stamina. Remember, sitting in front of your computer for 2 hours and concentrating hard, it needs practice. Wouldn't it need practice? Because if you don't do that, if you don't write AIMCATs and you directly go and write CAT exam, you will not have good enough stamina to concentrate hard on the day of CAT exam. After 40 minutes, after 1 hour, you will be exhausted on the day of CAT. And once you are tired, once you are exhausted, your mind will not function in an optimal manner. That's the reason some people, when they come back home after writing their CAT exam, they scratch their head and they wonder, some of the questions were so easy, right? When they discuss with their friends, and when they tell them that this was the approach, they realize that it was so easy, and they wonder why is it that they were not able to solve that particular question. It especially happens in mathematics, because mathematics happens to be the last section in CAT. Typically, by then, people would run out of energy, especially those who are not writing AIMCATs. One guarantee from my side, if you don't skip AIMCAT and if you write every single AIMCAT, is you will never run out of energy. You, even after the CAT exam gets over, you will feel energetic because you have done that on so many occasions. So please remember, do not miss AIMCATs. And it's always a good habit to write AIMCAT during the test window. Some people say, I can skip the AIMCAT, I'll get access to it later on. See, while yes, you do get access to it later on, a month before the exam, but it's not a good idea to skip the AIMCAT during the test window. The regular AIMCAT should always be written during the test window, because when you do that, you get to compete with the rest of the AIMCAT takers. You get to benchmark yourself against the competition. So it definitely makes sense to write AIMCATs during the test window, so that you get to compete with everybody else. You get to know where you stand with respect to the competition, and the stress that you face when you write in the test window will be much higher than what you would do otherwise. Because when you are writing during the test window, at the back of the mind, you would know that other people are also writing the exam, and you need to push yourself. And that extra stress that comes your way is the same kind of stress you are going to face on November 30. So when you keep writing AIMCATs during the test window, you also get trained to handle the stress, the exam stress. You get to handle it, and you get to learn how to handle it as such. Now, take every single AIMCAT with a lot of seriousness. What do I mean by that? For example, we have some AIMCATs which are invigilated, some AIMCATs which are non-invigilated. So when you're writing a non-invigilated AIMCAT at your home, some people, they don't write AIMCATs with seriousness. Some people, they will have a mobile phone next to them, and in between, if there is a notification, they check it out. They even chat with their friends on WhatsApp and so on and so forth. Don't do that. Take it with a lot of seriousness. Try to simulate the actual CAT exam environment. So what will happen on the day of CAT? You will not have mobile phone with you. You will not take a break in middle. You will not get up from your seat. You will sit there. You will concentrate hard. You will keep a rough paper next to you and you will practice with that. Try to simulate that test examination environment. In fact, I will go on to the extent of saying, sit with a rough paper, take an A4 size paper and turn it into half. When you take an A4 size paper and turn it into half, that is almost the size of actual rough paper that you get on the day of CAT. So sit with those kind of papers and you practice with that size paper to simulate the actual test environment. Have a pen with you and use that pen for your rough work. Don't have huge books or registers when you are doing the rough work, because they will not give you humongous size paper on the day of exam. It will be a tiny sheet that they will offer to you, tiny booklet that they'll give it to you. So use that same size paper for your practice. So simulate the actual test environment. In fact, I would recommend you talk to your family members. If you are living in a hostel, tell your roommates and others not to disturb you during the examination. Take it with complete seriousness and focus. That will go a long way in you gaining from the AIMCAT test series that we have got, and you will definitely prosper because of that. Now, once the AIMCATs get over, a lot of people, what they do is they look at the results. They see what percentile they have got, and then immediately they look at the solutions. I don't recommend that. I would say once the AIMCATs gets over, once you again get access to it, when the results are announced, when you get access to it, whichever questions have troubled you, whichever questions you could not attempt because of paucity of time, or whichever questions you left midway, I would strongly recommend all those questions you try again. And this time, probably you can do it without time limit. But without looking at solutions, see if you are able to get the answer on your own in your second attempt. When you do that, what happens when you get an answer for a question without looking at the solutions provided by time? Even though you may end up taking a lot of time to do that, but it will give you so much more confidence. You will say, yes, I was able to get the answer on my own without taking help from the solutions that time has provided. That boosts your confidence, and that goes a long way in being successful in CAT exam. So second attempt on your own, do that. But even after that, if you are unable to get the answer, then as a last resort, you can surely look at the solutions that we have provided so that you can learn. Again, looking at the solutions, don't look at the solutions just for the heck of it. You look at the solution with an attitude and an intention that I want to learn. I want to actually learn how to do this question, so that on November 30, if I am getting a similar kind of question, I should be able to do it. So don't just watch solutions the way you watch a OTT movie or series. Watch it with a lot of seriousness. Have a pen and paper next to you, and in fact, when you watch a solution, do it along with that faculty member in your book also. When you do it with your own hand, it goes a long way in that particular approach, that particular solution getting ingrained in your subconscious mind. So please do look at the solution at the end, but definitely learn, so that if I give you a similar kind of question in any other AIMCAT or on the day of actual CAT, you should be able to solve it. Now, analyze your performance. When you have looked at your results, fair enough, but time will share a lot of analysis of your performance. Have a look at the entire analysis that time provides. What kind of analysis? For example, we will tell you how many, what was the difficulty level of each of the questions will be revealed. So we will be able to, give you the difficulty level of the question based on a scale of 5. right? So was it a very difficult question? Was it a difficult question? Was it a average kind of question, below average question? We will tell you exactly what was the difficulty level of each of those questions. We will also share with you how many difficult questions were there in that particular AIMCAT and how many of them did you attempt and how many of them you got it right. So absolute detailed analysis will be shared with you. This kind of analysis will help you in evaluating your ability of judging the difficulty level of questions. Ideally speaking, what should happen? Ideally speaking, you should pick up all the easy ones and you should attempt all the easy ones. All the very difficult ones, you should be able to skip them and you should only come to them if time permits. Otherwise, you should just focus on the easy and moderate kind of questions. But were you able to do that? How would you know that? We will share that analysis with you. We will also let you know with regard to every question as to how many people in India attempted that question and how many of them they got it correct. We will also be able to tell you how much time you spent on a particular question. So this kind of detailed analysis of your performance will be shared with you. We will also tell you how many in which AIMCATs have you crossed the sectional cutoffs. In fact, we will also share with you summary of your performance across AIMCATs also, and we will highlight which AIMCATs have you crossed the sectional cutoffs and which AIMCATs you missed the sectional cutoffs. We will let you know that also, because remember, as far as IIMs are concerned, 19 out of 21 IIMs in India, they do have provision of sectional cutoffs. So when such a high number of IIMs have sectional cutoffs, we also need to keep in mind what percentile should I aim at. Of course, it also depends on reservation category, but whatever your reservation category is, you should know what percentile you should be aiming for in each of the section and accordingly prepare and accordingly gauge your performance in each of the AIMCATs. So time will share with you detailed analysis. Now, apart from that, you should also analyze which chapters have troubled you, which type of questions have troubled you. Make a list of all chapters and all kinds of questions that are troubling you so that you can work specifically on those kind of questions. So proper analysis is needed. Also analyze your test taking strategy approach. Did it work? Is there any need of changing any of those strategies? You should be able to analyze that aspect also. And if repeatedly any topic is troubling you, then I would strongly advocate you should go back and redo the basics again, rewatch the basics class again if you are a full course student, but definitely learn the basics wherever you are getting troubled repeatedly. Now, this is important. As part of AIMCATs, what happens? Sometimes some AIMCAT performances may not be up to the mark. Do not get demotivated. There will be good days, there will be bad days. Even Sachin Tendulkar and Don Bradman, sometimes they did not perform well. So it can be the case with you also. It's okay, take it in your stride. But what is important is don't get demotivated, but instead just analyze your performance. Why did my percentile fall? What was the reason behind this kind of performance? So that you can avoid those pitfalls in the future AIMCATs. But never get demotivated. Some people, when they get not so good percentiles in some AIMCATs, eventually they give up and say, no, it's not my cup of tea. No, 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 no. That should never be done. You should take it as a learning experience and grow and improve and move on. Remember what I said initially, your actual CAT performance will be far better than your average AIMCAT performance. In fact, if you observe, every time I was writing a percentile, I was putting a plus. That plus could be any number. You will decide what that number would be. So when I say 95 plus, doesn't mean you will get 95. Plus could be any number. You can even get 99.9 percentile if you work very hard in the remaining period. So it could be anything more than that. All right. So never get demotivated in case once or twice in between your performances are not up to the mark. Finally, keep experimenting, keep trying different approaches with our AIMCATs. AIMCATs are like, net practice. You should experiment, test taking strategies, for instance, try different approaches. Which should I do RC first? Do I do VA first? Do experiments with our AIMCATs. AIMCATs are meant to figure out different approaches and finally be ready with a final test taking strategy. So till last 5 AIMCATs happen, experiment. But when it comes to the final 5 AIMCATs, you should have fine-tuned your strategy. You should have come to a particular conclusion with regard to how you would be performing on the day of 30th November, and you should use that final strategy in the last 5 AIMCATs that T.I.M.E conducts, so that you get used to that approach. But till those last 5 AIMCATs happen, don't feel shy. Do experiment with the way you solve the AIMCAT papers. All right. Now, some FAQs that I do get from the students, usually, the first question that people generally ask me is, Sir, I haven't really started serious preparation for CAT, and is there enough time left to prepare for CAT? See, answer is 100% yes. There is enough time left to prepare, and definitely if you prepare well, you will be able to manage. In this regard, I would strongly recommend anybody who has this doubt, I strongly recommend on 2nd September at 8 p.m. we are doing an excellent webinar. Please don't miss this webinar. The title of that webinar would be 90 Days to CAT. So this particular webinar will be delivered by my colleague, and he will give you an excellent roadmap as to how to utilize the last 90 days and prepare hard for CAT exam. So register for this webinar. You can do that on our website, and the registration link is active, and you can register for 2nd September webinar, and my colleague will give you an answer to this question in detail as to how you should prepare in the last 90 days. Now, the second doubt that I often get from the students is, Sir, are AIMCAT sufficient, or should we write more mocks? See, AIMCATs are 100% enough. But remember, writing mocks after mocks after mocks is not going to help you out. See, preparation for CAT is like losing weight. If I want to lose weight, do I lose weight just by standing on weighing machine again and again and again? Not really, right? I will lose weight if I stand on weighing machine, and then I should look at my weight, and then I should do exercise, I should do dieting, and then I should stand on weighing machine again. So writing mocks after mocks is not the solution. The solution is writing an AIMCAT, but if you observe, we intentionally give few days of gap in between. Why is that gap being given? That gap is being given so that you can analyze your performance and take corrective actions. Which questions have troubled me? Let me work on those so that when I write the next AIMCAT, I should be better prepared. So AIMCAT test series is more than enough. You don't need any more mocks other than AIMCATs, provided you do justice to those AIMCATs. So in today's session, I have explained to you how to use those AIMCATs. If you use it that way, trust me, number of AIMCATs that we are providing is more than sufficient. Now, the AIMCAT test series that we have got various kinds of AIMCAT test series packages, and you can opt for one depending on your requirement. This is for those of you who have not registered for full course in time. So some of you who may be classroom course student or online course student of CAT 25, this is not meant for you, because these are already there in your course. So you're already getting access to the AIMCAT, so you don't have to register for our AIMCAT test series. Those people should register for AIMCAT test series who are not full course students of time. Then you should go for it, because this will give you a lot of value addition. So what are the variants that we have? Let me show it to you. So we start off with AIMCAT basic package. So as part of this, as you can see on the screen, you do get 15 AIMCATs, and apart from that, you also get access to 25 self-administered AIMCAT. Then apart from that, we also provide you with 50 OMETs. OMETs essentially are mock exams designed for other exams other than CAT. So if you're also preparing for XAT, SNAP, NMAT, etc., we do provide you with mocks for that also. Now, other than that, we also provide you with extra practice questions. We provide video solutions for 2 AIMCATs in basic. But if you go for AIMCAT basic with videos, then you do get video solutions for all the AIMCATs. So you can read it. I'm going to be silent for a few seconds so that you get an idea about various models that we have, various kinds of AIMCAT packages that we have in place. You can have a look at it. It keeps changing. For example, when you go for AIMCAT Enhanced, number of AIMCATs that are part of the package will go up. Other things will also increase. For example, you also get 60 hours of workshop sessions, 20 in each of the areas, basically would also be provided to you. So these are all aspects that are there in this particular program. We also provide you with free webinar sessions, test taking strategy session, school selection session, and then strategies for omits will also be part of that, form filling session. So variety of webinars will also be given to you. We also give you an option of getting your doubts clarified through active Telegram groups. So we have created Telegram groups. You can post your queries there and the faculty members will help you out. Students will also be there who can help you out. So these are all variety of AIMCAT packages that we have, and you can definitely choose one depending on your requirement. Now, if the question is, sir, where do I register for the AIMCATs? Now, let me tell you, you are going to have a free AIMCAT also. If you want to get a taste of AIMCAT, if you want to get a feel of AIMCAT, tomorrow we are conducting a free AIMCAT also. You can write that if you are not a T.I.M.E student to get a feel of the exam as well. It's a free AIMCAT, and based on your performance, we will also be giving you options to join as such. Now, where do you get more information about AIMCAT, or where can you register for the AIMCAT test series? Please make a note of this. This URL is what you need to use to register for the AIMCAT test series. Make a note of this if you're not a T.I.M E student so that you can do the process very, very comfortably. So friends, these are the inputs that I wanted to share in this webinar. Now let me take up your questions. As I said earlier, if you have got queries for me, if you have got questions for me, do feel free and do share your queries with me so that I can answer them as such. Let me look at some of the queries that you people have. The first query that I can see comes from Devanshi. Devanshi says that I felt a particular AIMCAT to be a little easier in DILR. Well, some AIMCATs, as I said earlier, we do experiment with difficulty level. So a particular AIMCAT, you might have felt that, DILR is slightly easier than CAT 24 or CAT 23. But then I assure you, there are several AIMCATs where the difficulty level will be on par with those CATs. Sometimes it will go beyond that as well. Yes, you heard me correct. There will be some AIMCATs where the difficulty level will be much more difficult than some of the CAT papers as well. So we do experiment with difficulty level because remember, nobody knows what difficulty level you are going to encounter on 30th of November as such. So that's the reason we do experiment. Other question that I see, what is a current good score or percentile, and how do I improve in future? Aditya Dwivedi is asking this question. So Aditya, I would say it depends on when you started off. If you started pretty recently, then this may not be the right time to judge yourself, and there is no need to worry or panic because remember, there is still a lot of time left. So at this moment, I don't want to mention a particular percentile because it all depends on when you started and how much of work you have already put in. If you have already put in a lot of effort, then you should definitely be able to target at least 80 plus percentile in AIMCAT. But if you started a little recently or you started a long time back, but you somehow got deviated and you didn't work hard in the last few months and you are again starting off, then this may not be the time to judge yourself. Just focus on gaining conceptual clarity and start working on it. And I'm sure when you do that, you will be able to do a remarkable job. There is enough time left. Even if currently, if you are not getting a very high MCAT percentile, it is absolutely fine. But just follow the inputs that my colleague will share with you when you would come for the webinar on 2nd of September. During 2nd September webinar, my colleague is going to share with you a lot of useful inputs that will help you eventually on the day of exam. So make sure you attend 2nd September webinar to get an idea about how to prepare in the remaining days. The next question comes from Sanjana. Sanjana says LRDI section, I find it usually tough in MCATs compared to previous year CATs. Again, we cannot generalize like that, Sanjana. Yes, I do agree with you. Some MCATs you may have encountered, some DILR case sets which you may have felt is slightly more difficult than previous CAT paper that you might have seen. But I assure you, we experiment in our AIMCATs. There are AIMCATs where we exactly maintain the same difficulty level as DILR case sets that have appeared in past in our CAT papers. And we will also have some AIMCATs where the difficulty level may be marginally less than the previous year CAT papers as well. So that is something that we will always do. Now remember, on the screen we have provided you with a link. If you observe on the paper on the screen, we have provided a link which you can use to check out the AIMCAT test series. The next question that comes to me is from Keshav. Keshav says, "Sir, I'm quite confident regarding my preparation, almost able to solve all the questions in the study material, etc. But when it comes to AIMCAT, my performance is very poor. Kindly guide, sir." Well, you will get a detailed answer of it on 2nd of September from my colleague, but I'll give you a brief idea. See, I totally get what you're saying. The level of AIMCATs, when you compare with the level of questions in our basic material, it will not be on the same level, right? So you need to fill the gap that is there in the middle. That gap, my friend, you will be able to fill when you write online sectional tests of intermediate level and then follow it up with online sectional tests of advanced level. When you are able to do that, then the gap comfortably will get filled in. If you are a full course student of T.I.M E, if you are a complete classroom or an online course student of T.I.M E, then I would also encourage you to do the lot 2 material that T.I.M E has provided to you, which contains higher difficulty level than lot 1. So that will also help in addressing this problem that you are encountering as such. All right. Now, Sandeep Nishad says, "Sir, giving all sectional tests, AIMCATs, SAMCATs, are they sufficient for CAT? I'm also giving all the OMET mocks. Are they sufficient for XAT, SNAP, and UNMAT? This would be absolutely enough." But I would also encourage Sandeep, remember, the first step should not be the sectional test, Sandeep. The first step should be the basics. First, gain conceptual clarity. First, ensure that your basics are crystal clear. If your basics are crystal clear, then proceed with the sectional tests, AIMCATs, and of course, as far as other exams are concerned, like SNAP, NMAT, XAT, our OMETs will be extremely useful in your preparation. But remember, whatever extra areas that are there in OMETs which are not there in CAT, you do need to gain a lot of understanding. You need to have deeper understanding with regard to the concepts. For example, SNAP will have topics. SNAP will have topics like number series, number analogies, coding, decoding, odd man out, blood relations, etc. You do need to practice those concepts also. Similarly, XAT will have decision making. You do need to prepare for that also. Our OMETs will give you very good exposure towards all these kind of questions because we will include them in our mocks as well. So OMETs will be extremely useful as such. Now, Raju has asked a very good question. I'm a 24 student of T.I.M E. I'm thinking of buying AIMCATs. Can I get a discount? Yes. All our ex-students, they will get discounts, and you can have a look at the pricing scheme of our AIMCATs. It's available at the link that I shared with you. Let me share it again so that anybody who did not notice it should be able to use it. So Raju, please note down this URL. And this URL is also mentioned in the chat. If you observe on the top, we have pinned a comment there. We have said, check out the most comprehensive mock CAT series. We have provided a link there also. Click on it. It will take you to the page. And if you use the scroll bar and come to the bottom of the page, Raju, we have mentioned the various categories of students who will be given discount over our AIMCAT test series. So there are a lot of parameters of getting discounts. One of them could be being the ex-student of T.I.M E. Apart from that, we also have discounts based on other criteria also. So have a look at that to get an idea about it. Devi Singh is asking me, Vedic maths or speed maths, is it useful for CAT or we can completely depend on calculator? See, I suggest that you do work on speed maths because remember, there are scenarios where speed maths will actually be giving you much better returns than calculator. So I advocate learning speed maths techniques also. Don't 100% rely on calculator alone. All right. Now let me take one more question. So one more question comes from Ritu. Ritu says, "Sir, is it advisable to make a daily timetable or not?" Yes, it's always a good idea to make a daily timetable, Ritu, but it should be a realistic timetable. I often see students, they end up making timetables which are not realistic, which are not practical, and because of that, they follow the timetable just for a day or two, and then they give up and then they don't follow it. I suggest you start gradually increasing the time that you are spending towards your preparation so that you are comfortable. But yes, Ritu, what you said is 100% true. You have to have a daily timetable. In fact, Ritu, also decide what is priority for you and cut down time that you spend on irrelevant activities. So for example, some people, they keep preparing, or they keep spending time on social media sites and so on and so forth. They should avoid that. So if you make a daily timetable, Ritu, you will definitely get a good idea about how you're utilizing your day as such. One last question that I can see comes from Zain Aziz, who says, "Sir, how to improve DILR?" Well, this question will be answered in detail by my colleague on 2nd of September. Do register for the webinar, Zain Aziz. My colleague will speak about what to do in the last 90 days as part of that webinar. He will also give you inputs, specific inputs with regard to DILR also. So I want you to attend that webinar without fail as such. All right. Divika Shaji has asked a question, I guess. Let me just check it because there are Devika Shaji. Okay, Devika says, "Sir, I can do DILR exercise easily, but I struggle to complete the exercise B. How should I approach it?" See, Devika, if you are a full course student of time, do participate in doubt clarifying sessions on a regular basis and interact with faculty members and get your doubts clarified. Otherwise, you should use the Telegram group in which you have been put, and you must ensure that you interact with faculty members and get your doubts clarified. Other than that, the set B questions that are troubling you, that also sometimes trouble you when you have not learned the concepts that were taught to you in the basic chapter that you had, basic exercise that you had, set A that you had. So you must go back and redo that exercise once again, and do discuss your doubts with faculty members on a regular basis so that the second exercise becomes more easier for you as such. All right. So I guess I have answered quite a few questions that you people had. So with this, I guess I have come to the end of this webinar. And I hope you got a good amount of understanding about how to utilize the AIMCATs that we are providing. And if you're not a time student so far, do register for the AIMCAT test series so you also get access to this extraordinary resource for your preparation for CAT. Thank you everyone for attending this webinar, and I wish you all the best for CAT exam. Take care.